Pirelli GT4 America raised the curtains on its 2024 season yesterday with a barn burner of a race that saw all three class battles come down to the final minutes. Today, that challenge begins anew here at Sonoma Raceway. This iconic 12-turn, 2.5-mile roller coaster ride through Northern California wine country. It's a beautiful day to go racing here in Sonoma, California. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish is alongside. Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane. It's a pleasure to have your company. Thanks so much for joining us. Yesterday's race, well, it was simply put a classic. All three classes, Silver, Pro-Am, and Am, came down to the final minutes. The race ran clean, green to checkered. What are we in store for today, Calvin?
Well, I'm not sure it can get any better than that one, but we'll try at least. And the important thing is we had a really clean race. A little bit of argy-bargy. Certainly the Hanley Motorsport car got involved early, curtailed there. Good qualifying run, but they'll start from the pole here today with Parker Thompson on board to get the green here today, see if they can rebound. But unfortunately, they didn't get enough laps to score points yesterday, and they're one of the favorites coming into this championship season.
Gorgeous day here in Sonoma, about 55 degrees Fahrenheit. And we talked about what a great race it was yesterday. Let's take a look back down memory lane with highlights from race one. This is the way it started. A couple of Tech Sport teammates on the front row. Eric Powell able to grab the top spot coming up the hill. Embroiled, though, in a great battle with the team car. Further back, we had some contact there. That was that Hanley Motorsports car that ultimately took them out of contention. A couple of NOLA Sport teammates very nearly coming together. This was a big moment, though. Mackay Stevens turned around. A penalty given to Zach Anderson post-race. That dropped Anderson way down the order. Big fight here late in the going. Ultimately, though, it was the Supra, driven at that time by Tyler Gonzalez, that would prevail. Battle for the Am class lead here in the final few moments, with a couple of Hannahs in that car for the Heart of Racing team, picking up a great victory here to start the season. Tyler Gonzalez, your winner, alongside John Chesbray in the silver class. It was Bimmer World getting the win in Pro-Am, and here is that Heart of Racing car. Hannah Grisham, Hannah Greenmeyer teaming up to get the victory in the Am class. It was an action-packed day yesterday, Calvin, and everyone's back raring to go again. Some cars, though, that featured up towards the front of the race yesterday. They start further back here today. Different strategies as well, which we saw the Tech Sport team play out. A change in the rules allowing you to start whichever driver you would like in race one, knowing the opposite will have to start race two. They elected to put Eric Powell in their Pro-Am car. That's the pro in that lineup to start the race yesterday. And they ran at the front most of the race, but now it comes to Colin Harrison to start here in race two.
Yeah, it does, but for the majority of the teams, it'll be their pro or the stronger driver in their lineup getting the start here today. So we expect them to go deep into the race. 35 minutes maximum drive time, so they'll try and get every single ounce out of that pro before they switch over in this race today. Ambient temperatures start to creep up. We're still in the low 50s, but beautiful day here in Sonoma. Racetrack is in great shape. Track workers have done an excellent job to give us a racing surface that we can put on some great racing with, so lots to look forward to here.
The surface was the story coming into the weekend. The brand new repave, which frankly had its issues earlier in the weekend, but everyone from SRO and Sonoma Raceway, SMI, they rallied. They found a solution to the problem, patching large sections of this track overnight now from yesterday to today. Some additional epoxy sealer was placed in a couple of corners. We've had no issues whatsoever, though, here today, and this new race surface, now that we've been racing, has received rave reviews. The speeds have been tremendous.
Incredible lap times that we're seeing, but also the racing has been great. It's no longer a one-line racetrack. You can go side by side through some of the corners. You can overshoot a corner and not be in immediate trouble, so that allows the drivers to be ever more committed.
I think we got a chance to head down to the grid to hear from Kenton Cook, who I believe or maybe it's Kevin Bohm, actually, whose teammate Kenton Cook will be starting this Random Vandals BMW. Let's hear from Kevin right now.
Well, Kevin, I know I've gotten some feedback that with the compression of time this weekend, you guys are still kind of getting up to groove, but a P2 finish yesterday. But we've just been raving about how excellent the GT4 race was yesterday. What was your experience in it?
Well, I think everyone out there really loves it when it goes green to checkers without any yellows or anything like that. And I think yesterday there was a lot of clean racing kind of around us, and it really kind of shows the level of talent that's out there. I mean, we got really good guys no matter which side of the race that you're up against in silver, and it's really putting a lot of pressure on both Kenton and I. We have to get good starts. We have to have a good car at the finish. There's kind of no room to have a little mistake. So it's putting a lot of pressure on us, and the team's doing a great job. Random Vandals is doing a great job to give us a great car. And I mean, it's a lot of fun to be back out here with CrowdStrike and AWS again for our second year.
Speaking of good starts, you guys are starting P7, so you know Kenton's going to be behind there ready to go. What was the game plan kicking off the day?
Well, I mean, the game plan always ends with a race win, but how we get there is hundreds and hundreds of different scenarios. And I think goal one is to keep as clean of a start as we can, take advantage of any opportunities, and then as the race presents itself, we just got to make the car as fast as we can all the way to the end.
Great to hear from Kevin Bohm, former touring car champion in his second year of GT4 racing. Paired once more with Kenton Cook as they go for a championship in the silver class here this year with Random Vandals Racing. First formation lap is complete. Starting the second of the formation laps as we look at the starting grid for today's race. Parker Thompson, the Rapid Canadian, will start on the pole. He'll have Mackay Stevens in his debut weekend with Tech Sport Racing alongside. How about Matthias Leist, former IndyCar driver? He'll line up third next to John Jesbray, who shared the winning car in silver class with Tyler Gonzalez yesterday. Zach Anderson and Michael Cooper, that's row number 3. Row number 4 belongs to Kenton Cook and Tom Dyer, back with Flying Lizard Motorsports for another go-round. Kai Van Berlo, very quick Dutch driver. He'll start in 9th next to the Canadian, Roman DeAngelis. Tyler McQuarrie, he and James Walker Jr., they were winners in Pro-Am yesterday. They'll start 11th. Austin Krein starts 12th in the top AM class entry. Ryan Eversley in GT4 competition here for the first time in a little while. He'll start 13th next to Matt Millian. In the 8th row, you see Chris Wilson in the AM class car from Random Vandals, next to Hannah Grisham, who won the AM class yesterday. And in row 9, two-time defending AM class champion James Clay starting all the way back in 17th next to Colin Harrison, who led some laps yesterday. Jake Cowden and Rob Holland are in row number 10. For JMF Motorsports and Rotec Racing, respectively. Then in row 11, Seth Thomas for Nola Sport, and Lee Carpentier also in a Nola Sport entered Porsche Cayman. Sean Gibbons starts in the 23rd position for OGH Motorsports next to Lance Bergstein. Stefan Radzinski had a big crash in testing. This is a backup chassis for Flying Lizard starting 25th next to Nick Shanny. Eric Filgaris and Alex Vogel starting at the back of the pack. Eric Filgaris teamed with John Capestra Dubets, who's celebrating a birthday today. So happy birthday, JCD. That's how they'll line up. 28 cars deep. It's a fantastic grid as ever, and some really fast cars sprinkled all throughout this grid today.
They really are. Just a wonderful mix. Japan has the front row here after the Japanese Grand Prix last evening. But going to be interesting to see what Parker Thompson can do here, see if that team can rebound after their issues yesterday. A little bit of contact with Daniel Hanley up there in turn 1 on the opening lap. Ruined their day, but they got a fast race car. Mackay Stevens trying to bounce back after got tipped around there on the carousel yesterday. So both of these groups on the front row looking for better days.
The Supra to the right-hand side of the picture, that is the pole sitter, Parker Thompson. He'll have Mackay Stevens starting next to him, a runner-up in the championship the last couple of years, driving a Mercedes, now switching over to this Tech Sport team and this Nissan Z Nismo GT4. Second row, Matthias Leist, the pole sitter in Pro-Am, and Tyler Gonzalez. Then Zach Anderson and Michael Cooper, Kenton Cook and Tom Dyer. There's the green flag. Race number 2 underway at Sonoma Raceway. Big move by Stevens, drawing even with Thompson coming up the hill. That's the battle for the overall lead. It looks like Thompson's able to hang on. They bottled up behind. 2, 3 wide coming up the hill through turn 3.
Everyone got through there cleanly, remarkably. Look at Stevens on the attack. Now he's being attacked right now. That's laced to the inside. Stevens is getting dropped a little bit. What has happened to Parker Thompson? He's down there in P5, it looks like. Maybe issues for that GR Supra.
It does appear that way. The pole sitter has dropped like a rock, falling back in line just ahead of Kenton Cook. Now maybe that car back up to speed. We'll keep tabs on it. But how about the IndyCar exile? Matheus Leist, his first weekend of GT racing, and he goes to P1 on lap 1 of race 2.
That was really bizarre there. I was looking for Parker Thompson, and he had got mired in the pack, so somewhere between turn 2 and 3, he got dropped.
Leist fighting here with the Auto Technic machine. That's Zach Anderson, who's had a really nice start. He's up into the 2nd spot. Stevens has dropped back a position or 2. Where did he end up? 5th in line, I think. So everybody all shuffled together. This is a bizarre start to the race, but thankfully clean to this point. Battle on for the race lead, though, as Leist is under attack.
Yeah, there must have been a moment up there in the top of the hill there, I think, on that opening lap, because Michael Cooper's dropped several spots on debut with that Nissan this year with Black Dog Speed Shop, the number 9 entry.
And Cal, how about Kai Van Berlo? He started 9th. He's 3rd. Big move back in the pack. This is Cooper working to the inside. Little bit of contact. Fighting with Roman DeAngelis, but they're able to make it work.
Wow, that was wild, hard racing. Great job by DeAngelis by hanging on to that race car. That may be a little reprieve there for Michael Cooper that he didn't turn him around.
Fight up the hill. This was the front row of the grid. They now find themselves fighting quite a ways further back with Tyler Gonzalez. That is Tyler Gonzalez. Yes, fighting there with Mackay Stevens.
Yeah, and there's Parker Thompson now back up to speed. So something happened. I'm not sure if he got roughed up there on that initial charge up the hill, but he's in recovery mode. Still inside the top 6, but a lot of work to do.
Well, we'll get this all sorted out, but Matheus Leist leads. He's also the leader in the Pro-Am class. The leader in the silver class is Zach Anderson. That's the BMW that's giving chase. So these two, while they are not fighting for class position, are scrapping for the overall lead. Behind, though, is where this battle resides. Van Berlo sits 3rd. Then you get to Stevens with the white hooded Nissan. Behind him is the Supra of Gonzalez, followed by the Supra of Thompson.
Wow, what a talent pool you got right there. Kenton Cook right behind them as well. So Leist out front, Zach Anderson, he's trying to rebound as well. We talked about rebounds early in this season. We had some technical drama yesterday, and then Zach Anderson, he got involved there when Mackay Stevens had a drive-through penalty assessed to him post-race, so that dropped him well down the order and off the podium.
Battles everywhere you look, but that's just GT4 racing for you. Matheus Leist forced to go a bit defensive here, under pressure from Zach Anderson. 2 leaders in their respective classes fighting for the overall lead. I think we're going to have a chance to take a look at the start of this race once again. Calvin, what do you make of this?
Well, Thompson, it looks like he just carried too much speed and must have got wide. There he's scrambling for grip, and that really compresses the whole field. He doesn't have any acceleration coming off at turn 2, so just overcharged the corner a little bit. Did a great job of saving it, but lost several positions.
Still have no idea where Van Berlo came from. Even in that shot, he was back in 6th or 7th. He ended up in 3rd overall after 1 lap, up 6 places from the start of the race. Race Vision powered by AWS, most positions gained. Eric Filgaris, Kai Van Berlo, and Nick Shaney. That might be Terry Borcheller, I think. He finished the race yesterday, so I believe that should be Borcheller there. But all of them up 6 positions here in the early going.
Yeah, just some tremendous racing going on, and we talk about the stacked field here with the driver lineups this year. We're seeing a bundle of those guys right now, right in your picture. Mackay Stevens trying to hang on here.
Stevens able to get around Van Berlo. Quite frankly, this has not been a happy hunting ground for the Porsche Caymans here this weekend, outside, I suppose, of GT America, which saw Isaac Sherman sweep the weekend in a Rotec Porsche Cayman. But certainly here in Pirelli GT4 America, there haven't been many of the Porsches featuring towards the front, and this used to be a Porsche playground. That changed, though, it appears, with the repave.
Yeah, I think with the configuration of that racetrack, it's always known for putting the power down well, and with a track that was light on grip, that was certainly an advantage to have. But now with the grip level here at Sonoma Raceway, it's brought all of these other manufacturers into play.
There you see the battle at the front. Matheus Leist, native of Brazil. Spent a couple of years in the IndyCar series, driving for Supertex, AJ Foyt, as teammate to Tony Kanaan. It's a really interesting pairing. There was a pretty sizable age difference between the two of them, but they had a lot of fun off the track, it would appear. But Tace has been off in the wilderness ever since. Great to see him pop up on the entry list here this weekend, and he's been quick.
It's Matt Million there on a solid run for Auto Technique. So many quality prep teams out there campaigning in this championship. He runs second overall with a 51 entry of Zach Anderson, still putting the pressure on Lace for the lead up front.
This is a program that has not secured the funding for an entire season. A couple of California-based drivers trying to see what they can do and having a nice run at things. They lead in the AM class currently ahead of Austin Kreis. Battle here heating up between Van Berlo, second in Pro-Am, and Gonzalez, the third place car in silver.
Two really quick Toyotas there running line astern. Yesterday's winner, Parker Thompson, today's pole sitter. See Parker make many mistakes, but he just overcharged that corner, may have gotten into the ABS. Maybe the car went a little bit numb, couldn't get it turned, did a great job of scrambling out, but just didn't have any acceleration on sideways there coming off the turn 9 chicane.
That might leave him vulnerable to Kenton Cook, who's got a nice head of steam exiting that chicane. Parker feeling that pressure, immediately covers off the inside. Cook just slots back in line, however, because he's got Tom Dyer to keep in the back of his mind. Dyer in that Aston, right there in the mix too.
Yeah, Tom is such a quality driver, so much speed there. So he's running this season with Tom Parriott. Good driver lineup. Parriott doing a double duty, running in GT America as well.
This fight now plunges down the hill, led by Van Berlo, Dutch driver now based in Miami, Florida. Oh, look at that, super defensive, because here comes this train.
Kenton Cook, there may have been a little bit of argy-bargy there. May see some dive planes on the racetrack. I thought something was flying there when they all got together.
Looked like that defensive move from Van Berlo caused the whole train to check up.
Kenton played it clean just as he did yesterday. Had an opportunity in there in turn 4, but felt he would have probably turned Parker Thompson if he went for it. Berlo just hanging on. Look at the compression he's creating. You talked about it, Ryan. The Porsche's not really the flavor of the day here at Sonoma Raceway in terms of the performance there against these other manufacturers, but supreme talent just keeping everyone at bay for now. But how long can he hang on? So much more time left in this race.
That is the question. How long can he keep this car here? And yeah, the car behind him is not in class. The next several cars, in fact, are not in class, but what this is doing is building a buffer for his teammate Kurt Swearingen when that pit stop happens about midway through the race.
About 15 minutes before the first opportunity to hit pit lane and not exceed 35 minutes for your second driver. But we expect with so many pros starting this race, they'll go deeper in, more to the 35-minute mark of the race before hitting pit lane to maximize the speed of the quicker drivers in the lineup, of course.
Cook announced earlier in the week he'll be doing some GT3 racing for Random Vandals, teamed with Connor Daly later this season. 3 races, including the season-ending Indy 8-hour, where they'll be joined by Connor De Filippi.
Yeah, that's such exciting news for Paul Sparta and the Random Vandals group. They've got bigger aspirations as to getting to the upper ranks of motorsport in general, and certainly GT3 is the next logical step for them. So great to see that announcement. Great to see Connor Daly going to be here on a pretty much regular basis, and Connor De Filippi joining them at the 8-hour. That is a stacked lineup. They're looking for success there.
Here's a move to the outside. Gonzalez, but that leaves him vulnerable, and look at that. Parker Thompson saw the opportunity, stuck the nose in there, and he grabs the spot away. That is for class position.
And again, just great respect by Kenton Cook there on Tyler Gonzalez. If he had pushed it there through the second part of turn 7, he would have turned him.
Gives Van Berlo a brief reprieve, but I don't think it's going to last long. Here comes Thompson looking to recover from whatever the malady was on the opening lap. We saw him slide wide early. There was a report on the radio, evidently, of some contact. That might have come later in the lap.
Yeah, I think he was all by his lonesome when he sort of charged into the corner there.
Now, in any event, it's put him on the back foot. Nevertheless, good pace. He's starting to recover. He's got a quick teammate in Dan Hanley to take that car home. I've been super impressed with Dan, who's really new to racing, but has been on the pace since he showed up.
Yeah, had a nice chat with him here this weekend, and he said Parker's just been a great mentor to me in terms of me understanding what it takes to be a true pro driver. As again, Van Berlo defensive. Parker Thompson goes around the outside of turn 4. Oh. He's in the weeds a little bit. Gonzalez looking for a way through.
Thompson pushed a little bit wide, dropped those wheels in the dirt, kicked up the dust. It looks like it's enough for Van Berlo to hold on to the position, but Kenton Cook sees an opportunity. He's gotten around Gonzalez. Now it's 3 wide at the exit of the carousel. Kenton Cook goes off track, side by side in the run down to turn number 7. Van Berlo in the Porsche, Parker Thompson in the white Supra. This is the fight here for the 4th position overall. Thompson has trouble getting that car to stick around the outside, and Gonzalez has snuck back through.
It doesn't get any better than that. That was just sensational racing. Hats off to all the drivers involved in that. Kept it clean. Superb stuff. Look at Kenton Cook looking at the inside. That was a potentially going to be an awesome move that he made, but he just couldn't quite keep it together on the exit of the carousel and ended up losing a spot.
Tom Dyer coming under pressure. Roman DeAngelis in the heart of racing. Aston looking pretty racy. Then behind them, it's side by side. Tyler McQuarrie and Michael Cooper. Michael back with Black Dog Speed Shop this year with Tony Gaples running a Nissan. That's going to take some getting used to.
Matt Million has got to be loving this for his experience, mixing it up with this crowd in front of him.
Auto Technic team has been super impressed with Matt this weekend. Young guy from the San Diego area, done a lot of club level racing and endurance racing.
I think you said it yesterday, ironic that they're struggling for budget with his name.
Yeah, I made that joke. I'm not sure.
Ooh, that was nice. Great move there. The 24 car Roman DeAngelis down the inside of Tom Dyer. He runs a little bit wide. That gives McQuarrie the run.
Dyer really closes the door on Michael Cooper there. Somehow they coexist. Cooper diving up the inside in that orange and gray Nissan, side by side with Dyer.
Black Dog Speed Shop, great to see them back. 5-time champs, 42 wins to their name. Some of those with Michael Cooper, of course.
Michael, one of the few who can claim to be a champion at the touring car, GT4 and GT3 level of SRO competition, or World Challenge as it was known for many of those titles. Couldn't quite make the pass on Dyer, and now Matt Million sits right there in the slipstream. In the meantime, that's Kenton Cook going up the inside of yesterday's winner, Tyler Gonzalez. Nice move into that chicane.
Yeah, Gonzalez was willing to give it up a little bit. He certainly didn't want to give up the lead yesterday. The way he hung on to that was sensational. The car control that kid has is super, super impressive.
Let's give a call to Kai Van Berlo, because he has been fighting on, hanging on to that 4th spot for all he's worth, and I'm not sure he's got the fastest race car of this bunch, and yet I think he's only dropped the 1 spot, and that was to Mackay Stevens pretty early on in the going. So opportunistic at the start as well, picking up 6 positions on the opening lap. Van Berlo in that Porsche. This, in fact,
wow, look how defensive he gets there.
Yes.
He just doesn't want to use all of the road and open up that inside lane down into turn 4, but by doing that, he's really compromising his speed up over the top of the hill in 3B. Up front, Zach Anderson has the lead over Laced.
Oh, wow. Good call there. That is for the overall lead. It does not matter in terms of the classes. Zach Anderson's car is in the silver class. He's paired up with former stock car driver Colin Garrett this season. I think that's going to be a fun pairing to watch. Mateus Lace, though, still leading in the Pro-Am class, and Mackay Stevens is reeling that pair in. He owns the CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, and I had a nice chat with him yesterday. We both did, and he said, you know, this car is super edgy compared to the Mercedes, talking about the Tech Sport Racing Nissan. He's behind the wheel of, but it's certainly got pace, and he's adapting very, very quickly. Fastest lap of the race today.
We mentioned Zach Anderson's teammate, Colin Garrett. Colin is standing by with Amanda.
Driven by your co-driver, Zach Anderson. He told me yesterday that you're a sweetheart and that the partnership is going well. How do you find it?
Yeah, it's going really well. I've learned a lot from Zach right now. He's phenomenal driver, as we saw there at the beginning of the race. So hopefully when I get back in it, hopefully just kind of keep that going. But yeah, it's been really cool to learn from Zach this week, and I think this partnership's going to be really good throughout the year.
What do you make of the competition that you're going to see in your group?
Sorry?
What do you make of the competition you're going to see in your group?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be pretty stiff. That Nissan's definitely quick, and they're closing the gap just a bit. So got to be on top of it when I get in the car. So
good luck.
Thank you.
Really quick driver, Colin Garrett, former track champion at South Boston Speedway in Virginia, not too far from VIR. A chance to go out there at one point last year, take in some Saturday night short track action. It was a good time.
Wasn't it one weekend he did both on the same weekend?
He was going to,
okay,
but the schedule didn't quite align. He had a bunch of his short track buddies come out to watch him, though, out at VIR. And if anything would prepare you for GT4 America racing, it might be the rough and tumble Saturday night short track crowd.
Well, I think the drivers had a good stern talk from their race director, Brian Till, this weekend, and he said, you know, learn to respect one another, and they've done a great job. The racing has been hard, but super clean, and this is what it's all about. This is what it can deliver, and it's doing it for 2 days in a row so far.
This battle continues here in the run into the chicane, turns 9 and 9A. Leading this battle pack, Kai Van Berlo up 5 spots since the start of the race. Parker Thompson still trapped behind, hasn't been able to plot a course around. I'll be back a little bit further. This is Roman DeAngelis, podium yesterday, along with Gray Newell. See Gray in the second half of this race. He's already been on track today in GT America competition. He had a couple of podiums this weekend.
Yeah, knowing how determined a competitor Parker Thompson is, you know he's going to try and want to right the wrong of that little moment he had on the opening lap and try and get this car, the Hanley Motorsports GR Super, a little bit further into this field so he can turn over to Daniel Hanley in a best possible position. He looks to the inside down there. Oh, little stack up in turn 4. He's through. I think that's where Van Berlo, I always felt like he was vulnerable looking at his line there on previous laps.
Next to take a shot at Kai Van Berlo is Kenton Cook, right now sitting 4th in the silver class.
Like Thompson's taken off a little bit quickly here. Car's still in great shape despite the close racing that we've seen so far here this morning.
A couple really cool liveries in this paddock, and this one, unchanged from last year, is one that I really, really like, harkening back to Toyota's prototype efforts back in the 80s and 90s.
All-American Racers, Dan Gurney's team, just superb history, iconic.
The team was created just 3 weeks before the start of the season last year. I think yesterday I said 2, but I've reviewed my notes. 3 is the correct answer. Nevertheless, it's not much time to put a program together, and they were instantly very impressive. And I think Parker Thompson deserves a lot of credit for that, helping to shape their setup and guide them in the right direction.
Daniel Hanley's father actually competed on the same team with Parker Thompson in Carrera Cup, and I think Daniel was actually working as a mechanic with the team at that time.
That's
so
right.
was it JDX, I think, the team they ran with back then, but just amazing how all of the pieces come together.
Again, Van Berlo forced to go on the defensive. This time he's able to keep the BMW behind at bay. Coming up on 40 minutes to go. So we mentioned this earlier, unlike last year, there is no 10-minute pit window prescribed by the rules. Instead, that window is set about by drive time regulations. We'll talk more about that in a second, but it does look like Kenton Cook is on the prowl here. Thought he might be able to make a move, get alongside the Porsche. For now, he's stuck and has to stay in line. Oh, no, he does not. That was forceful.
He
got to the inside and absolutely charged through the gap.
Yeah, Van Berlo was definitely the cork in the bottle. He's entitled to do this, but as we talked about, the Porsche not having a strong weekend here, and Van Berlo was driving the wheels off that thing, but we could see from Parker Thompson leaping down the road here once he cleared him. Expect some of these other cars to maybe do the same.
Tyler Gonzalez had a big slide there a moment ago. Left him on the defensive relative to Roman DeAngelis in that blue Heart of Racing Aston.
Yeah, we've seen Parker Thompson do a similar thing, so it looks like that little Supra is a bundle of fun to drive. You can really toss the thing around a bit.
All of a sudden, timing and scoring is lighting up. We've had a bunch of drivers turn in their fastest laps of the race. Zach Anderson, for a moment, had the CrowdStrike fastest lap, but Mackay Stevens stole it away. And Mackay has closed in now to within 0.6 of a second of Matthias Leist for the second overall position.
Yeah, and for Leist, how much does he want to fight Mackay Stevens? Mackay's hoping not a lot, because he'd love to clear him and chase after Zach Anderson before they both turn it over to their respective teammates.
Leist's real competition is Van Berlo. That's his closest pursuer in class. So he's built a nice margin. It's about 17 seconds between Leist and Van Berlo as they run. And then it becomes Michael Oriema's job to hold on to that advantage once he hops in for Matthias during that pit stop. There you see it, CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race to the white-nosed Nissan coming through the back of the picture, chasing down Matthias Leist in this red Mercedes.
Well, that's the fun dynamic for race 2, is that the AMs are basically going to have the table set by their pros. Then how do they deal with the pressure? Maybe the lead, maybe in chase mode. And that makes it fun, because typically there's a bigger delta difference in lap times between the various AMs in this field versus the top pros, who are all really able to drive a car totally on the limit all of the time.
Race Vision powered by AWS. You see the 3 different sectors around this track. The BMW rules in sectors 1 and 2, but different story for the Nissan, which has been awfully strong in the hands of Mackay Stevens. And, you know, you mentioned that conversation we had with Mackay. He was telling us he doesn't really feel comfortable in this car yet, which is a scary thing because he's already the fastest man on the racetrack. I think we got a replay of an incident that occurred a few laps ago. This is Colin Harrison up over the curb and into the number 36 car.
Yeah, that's James Clay behind the wheel. Podium run here yesterday, going for 3 championships in a row with Charlie Postins. That was a little bit brutal.
Yeah, that's tough. Also not in the same class either. Stewards won't like that one bit, and that's a shame because Colin Harrison and Eric Powell had a really nice day yesterday.
They did. Powell starting the car from the pole and led many laps.
This is Damir Hot, or is it actually Stefan Redzinski who started this car for Flying Lizard? Appears to be maybe off the pace a little bit, and he pulled off to the inside there in that alternate layout of turn 7.
Well, the smoothest of weekends. Redzinski had a moment on the opening lap of practice here the other day and pretty much didn't total the car, but major damage there to switch to a backup that fortunately the Nissan group had here on site at Sonoma Raceway. So a lot of work for the mechanics to get many of the parts. It wasn't a total ready to go piece of kit, so a lot of work by that group to get the team out there.
Justice has been handed down swiftly. Drive-through penalty, Colin Harrison, for that incident that we saw. Here is James Clay. Remember, this is the 2-time defending champion in the AM class. They have not had many days like this over the last 2 seasons. Not sure it's terminal, but it certainly has them out of contention for any kind of representative finish.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's in pit lane, he must be feeling something, even though the mechanics don't really see anything totally amiss. See Charlie Posters there waiting in the background, but they're not in a position yet where Charlie could get in. But they're getting close to that because there's no pit, like defined pit stop window. Long as Charlie gets in, they can do it while they're servicing the cars they're looking at right now. Long as when he leaves pit lane, there's more than 35 minutes on the board, which we're getting close to.
So as you see on the screen, drive-through penalty has been handed down, and this is the reason why. Pretty cut and dry. Yeah,
big commitment down at the inside, realizes it's not going to work, tries to use the curb. That makes the situation even worse. But with the time on the board right now, we are in a point in this race where you can do a driver change and not be outside of that 35-minute maximum. And I think the 36 car are now realizing that. So even though they've been delayed, might as well stick Charlie in the car, and he's not going to exceed that amount of time, obviously, as you look at the clock.
Couple teams making the call to the pit lane here early. We expect most to run long in this opening stanza with so many of the pros in the Pro-Am lineups, and even in the silver class, the more experienced driver by and large started the race here today. Fight is for 6th now, with Kai Van Berlo playing defense as he has seemingly all race long. Tyler Gonzalez plotting a path by. This battle's been a good one too, with Michael Cooper putting some pressure on Tom Dyer. Cooper with a little slip there though in turn 11, and it's left him vulnerable to the AM class leader, Matt Million. What a great job he's done today.
Yeah, certainly the decent debut for Black Dog, but I'm sure they'd like to be a little bit closer to the sharp end of this field right now. But they did a test at Coda, got a little bit of seat time with it, but a lot to learn with this program. You know that Ray Sorensen and the whole group there at Black Dog Speed Shop will get this car sorted and be knocking on the door for podiums and victory before too long.
This is the Flying Lizard Nissan we saw with some issues earlier. Now we see the Tech Sport car come in. This is the one that had the drive-through penalty. So that's Eric Powell set to climb aboard. Colin Harrison will get out. Not a surprise to see them in early in the window. This is the inverse strategy that we saw from them yesterday, with starting Eric Powell and having him run as deep into the race as possible.
I'm assuming they did the drive-through penalty and it's been served, because you can't service the car and do the same thing, because that's really not a penalty.
Seen it. Usually race control will send a message that says the penalty has been served. Can they do the driver change and then serve the penalty?
I assume so, because there could be a quirk where you have to do a driver change. You don't have time to do it. So I assume as long as the car serves it, you're still okay.
Fast laps pouring in. Zach Anderson, new personal best. Mateus Lace, new personal best. Parker Thompson, new personal best. 3 of the top 4 resetting their own benchmark times here this deep into the run.
Yeah, thinking about that rule, I think you only have 2 laps to serve it, so I guess they could come in immediately, do the driver change, then come back in again. So playing with fire a little bit. They're rolling the dice there.
Charlie Poston's letting the leaders play through. That's the stricken AM class car from Bimmer World that James Clay started.
Yeah, they're just going to try and trundle around here, keep the car out there. Hope that some of their other competitors have more drama than they have here today, but not an ideal start to their campaign, going for the three-peat. Had the lead yesterday, ended up with a podium run, lost an extra spot. Was that Chris Wilson got by them right at the end as well yesterday, I believe.
Battle is on here. 2 cars from different classes. Mackay Stevens has run down Mateus Laced. Crucially, that gap to the overall leader and the leader in Mackay's class, Zach Anderson, that also has been coming down. It's less than 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's the important factor there. That first car now heading into the brake zone is now Mackay Stevens brings the Tech Sport Racing Nissan to pit lane.
And I wondered if they might do this, try the undercut strategy. His young teammate, Jonathan Neudorf, has been really strong this weekend. His pace has been excellent. In fact, Mackay told us yesterday he's actually more comfortable in this car than I am. And I think this is them trying to get out of traffic, putting a lot of faith in their young driver who's making his pro racing debut here this weekend.
Well, it's great to have that option. If you've got 2 pretty evenly matched drivers, you can play with the any potential traffic that's coming up. I mean, and again, if you feel like maybe your tire pressures are a little bit out of the window, it allows you to get in, get those set, and allow your second driver to go out with maybe the car in better shape that way. No fueling happens, it's strictly a driver change, so if you can correct the tire pressures, potentially the car could be a little bit quicker, and then you see it happening here.
There is this Tech Sport team that was tasked to do the development work on this GT4 Nissan on behalf of the manufacturer last year. And it was a year full of trials and tribulations, but they did have a couple of podium runs, including one here at Sonoma. And the package they've turned up with this year after the updates, based in part on their feedback, has been really strong. And the drivers that drove it last year have said we've made big, big strides one year to the next.
Surprised to see the Walker Macquarie car in quite this early. You'd think they'd want Macquarie to be out there, but James has certainly been stepping on the gas really well here this weekend. He's comfortable with that race cars. They must feel they're not losing too much by putting James Walker Jr. behind the wheel of that car that had the class victory here yesterday, because there's still about 4.5 minutes to go before you have to hit pit lane.
From the overall lead, here comes Zach Anderson and Auto Technic. Colin Garrett standing by, getting ready to hop aboard. Great start to their weekend, or at least their race here, I should say. Yesterday, they had a good result on the road, ultimately a post-race penalty for some contact between Anderson and Mackay Stevens in race. Cost them dearly. But they've shown they're back to fight for another championship. Laced inherits the overall lead. A bunch of the Pro-Am cars still staying out as expected. We're seeing more of the silver class cars come in, and again, that's to be expected because there is less of a performance difference between the two drivers in these silver class lineups.
Looks like the cars are literally crawling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
50 kilometers an hour, and it's all about the minimum pit stop time. Has to be at least 90 seconds here in Pirelli GT4 America.
That's 90 seconds from pit in to pit out, including the driver change. No tire changes, no refueling in this championship. You can check and adjust tire pressure, but that is it other than the driver change during these pit stops.
You have 1 second to play with. If you're up to 1 second, you will not receive a drive-through penalty, but whatever you're under, call it a 1/10 of a second, that's then multiplied by 10 versus 5 last year. So you'd serve a 1 second tack onto your time at the end of the race if you were 10th underneath that minimum delta time.
Garrett comes out. You see the charging Nissan behind him. That is a battle for position. We'll need to keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Matthias Laced continues to lead overall. This is Neudorf, who has a lap under his belt now. The tires are back up to temp. He is charging, and he's got 1 lap of track knowledge in his back pocket relative to Colin Garrett, who's now got to get up to speed and quickly.
Yeah, he does. He's got to find his rhythm really quickly, otherwise Neudorf's going to be right on him here. So I like the move by Tech Sport there, getting Neudorf in. As you said, he's got great pace. Now the pressure on Garrett to find his rhythm quickly before he feels the heat and then has to get defensive. So many strong driver lineups, we keep saying it, but absolute stacked field, and when they keep it a little bit cleaner, the racing is magnificent, as we saw yesterday and today for that matter.
It's a big jump for Neudorf, who comes from MX-5 type racing in his background. But Mackay Stevens, who's had some really good teammates over the last few years, was really singing this young man's praises, thinks he's the real deal. We're seeing that on display. The team put a lot of faith in him with that undercut strategy, and it certainly has helped them close the gap. It didn't change the position, but the gap was about 2 seconds prior to the pit stops, and it's clearly less than that now.
It is. Try and get a read on if any of that was in the pit stop itself as we start to get a little bit more data coming on board. Yeah, they actually gained a second on their pit stop, so that's where some of that comes from. But actually, the 23 car, I believe, is a couple of tenths under, so they're going to have to serve a 2 second tack on at the end. 129.8 is what I'm reading, and I believe the minimum was 90, so they're just underneath that.
Correct. So the way this works, 90 seconds, pit in to pit out. If you exit the pit in under that time, and the time that is under is less than 1 second, then whatever that fraction of a second is multiplied by 10, and that becomes a post-race time penalty. So in this case, it was roughly 2/10 of a second too quick exiting the pit lane. 2/10 times 10 gets you a 2 second post-race penalty. So now, this is not just a battle for on-track position, but should Neudorf make the pass, and again, this is all unofficial, we've seen nothing handed down, but that is what we anticipate will happen, Neudorf would need to finish at least 2 seconds ahead of Garrett to secure the victory. Clear as mud?
No, I think you're spot on. And you'd have to think the Auto Technique is seeing the same data we are, so maybe they can alert their driver of that. Daniel Hanley now behind the wheel of the 999 machine. Jez Bray now behind the wheel of the winning entry from yesterday.
It seems like as we see Michael Auriemma now in the Pro-Am leading Mercedes that Matthias Lace started.
They pushed it close.
Yep.
But they're good because the pit stop is done. So yeah, they were within a minute of exceeding the 35-minute drive time.
This is very interesting. He comes out fresh into the car with the two silver class leaders in their own battle coming up on him quickly. What will Michael Auriemma do? This is not for class position. These two cars behind him, he can let them go and still be in position to get a class win.
Yeah, and I think he needs that information. He can't afford to fight and have any contact here, so just let them go, settle in behind them. They've both got great pace. That shouldn't ruin your day in terms of the class battle that you're in by yourself and not with these guys. But he doesn't want to give it up. Oh, that was close to a little touch there. Garrett wisely took his nose out of that situation, otherwise that Mercedes would have been around, and he may have drawn a penalty, even though it's not for class position.
Yeah, Colin pretty cautious there, all things considered, but it didn't leave him too vulnerable. Did you see that puff of smoke out of the Nissan? I've seen that a few times now. That's something to keep an eye on.
Not sure if that's just tire smoke on the unweighted side as he turns hard into some carves into some of these corners or not. Auriemma, he needs to know what's going on. He needs really strong communication between pit lane and the driver. I mean, some of this may have been set up. You may have been discussing this before you even get into the car about the potential scenario as to how you're going to come out here. These are the cars that are going to be away around you as Neudorf is looking for a wave by. He's got to get by Colin Garrett here, and to your point, he's got to escape him by 2 seconds if he's going to grab a win.
Again, that's unofficial. We've not seen a penalty officially handed down, but it's usually pretty cut and dry. I'll say this, Auriemma has had some good pace. I mean, he got up to speed. He's found his rhythm. I think the other two might be moderately quicker, but it's not a huge gulf.
And they'll be fine with that as long as Auriemma doesn't compromise Garrett's pace here, but Neudorf's trying to take advantage here.
This is something that Garrett did not have to deal with.
He's got to be careful, though. He's kind of in no man's land there. You see a little puff of smoke again. It's like it's almost locking up an inside wheel there into some of the hard turn corners.
Yeah, Garrett would not have to have worried about out-of-class traffic at South Boston Speedway. That's something he's had to adjust to coming sports car racing. Looks like he got a decent run out of the carousel. Can he use it now to draw alongside? Again, not for class position, but the overall win does mean something to these drivers. You're seeing that on full display. Garrett slips a little bit wide. Neudorf looking to the inside, way up over the curbs, and he about rolled that thing over.
Wow.
Unreal.
That was an incredible moment there. That's one to put on your office wall. Hopefully someone caught that.
Wow. We see that in touring car races with some regularity. I'm not sure I've ever seen a GT4 car bicycle quite like that.
Smoke again. I don't think that can be an inside tire. I think they've got some kind of fluid issue at the back of that car that's causing that smoke to emanate there through some of these corners.
And Garrett is close, but Auriemma's pace is
good.
good.
Again. So that's under acceleration, so that's not under braking. So there must be some fluid that's moving around, and then suddenly you see it. Maybe getting onto an exhaust or something. So fingers crossed for this group. There's nothing, depends what sort of fluid is and what the capacity is and how many laps are left if you're going to be okay.
Now Neudorf, I'm not sure he's even aware of this.
Right.
Still driving very aggressively. Again, Garrett looks to the inside, and again, Auriemma has it covered off. At what point, though, does Colin Garrett get impatient and use the old Paul Tracy chrome horn?
Yeah, he's got to be so careful, though. He's just got to pick his moment. Don't get so impatient that you get that moment where you're going to have some contact and potentially draw a penalty. So he's got to be smart here, very poised. He's feeling the heat from behind. He may know that that 2-second penalty is possibly going to be given to the 23 car. 23 car sends it in there, nowhere to go with that one. There is definitely a distinct lack of grip on the outside. There's a lot of grinding that happened down there, so the racetrack is relatively dirty off the patch down there.
Under 20 minutes to go. This is the battle for first, second, and third overall. Michael Auriemma in that metallic red Mercedes. He's the leader in Pro-Am. The two cars behind are first and second in their silver class. Here we go. Garrett, this time he's got to run. He comes up the inside and is able to take the overall lead away. And crucially now, he's got a buffer relative to Neudorf running in that next spot. Now Neudorf is trying to come around the outside as well. Can he follow him through? Yes, he can. Now that that's been sorted out, we've got a chance to hear from Mackay Stevens with Amanda.
And Ryan, they are anticipating that 2-second penalty as well at the end of the race. And can that be overcome?
I believe so, but certainly, you got to remain optimistic. The team has done so much in such a short period of time that all we have to do is rely on the racing gods and also the young man behind the wheel, and Mr. Jonathan Neudorf. Nissan's doing all that they can. Tech Sport has gone above and beyond the call of duty, and we just pray that we can make it to the end and certainly secure that fine result.
It does look like there's smoke coming from the car occasionally. From your experience inside that, what is it?
So we just need to be mindful that right now the platform is doing all that it can, with great respect to Nissan for putting a platform out there, and we're not yet sure what it can be, but we also are optimistic that it can hold up for the duration of the race.
And just quickly, how intense is it out there?
It's really crazy, absolutely crazy, but all due respect to the other competitors in the SRO community, it's a pleasure to be here.
Good to hear from Mackay Stevens, Chicago driver, driving a white, red, and black number 23. I pointed that out to him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's a big Bulls fan.
Nice.
He's big time in favor of the way that's worked out.
I lived in Chicago for a long time and used to go to the games. That was before their incredible championship run, but Jordan was playing, so those were fun times.
I can imagine. Now, right now, how about this, Jonathan Neudorf? It seems like every year in this championship we'll get one or two of these breakout stars, and Neudorf appears to be in that category. He's one of these people I knew nothing about when he turned up, and even the limited amount of information out there on the internet didn't reveal a whole lot. But, when Mackay Stevens says he's the real deal, you have to take note.
Proof is in the pudding, right?
Correct.
We're seeing it now on display in this race. That smoke has gotten a little bit easier in terms of we're not seeing it quite as dramatic as it was, and our camera crews are saying that they believe it may be coming from the exhaust, maybe something internal versus an oil leakage, but yet to be determined.
Now, it hasn't slowed the car down any. Neudorf has been the quickest of these two. In fact, he's been the quickest car, at least in the top 10, over the last few laps. We've been locked into this battle.
Wow, does he ever send it in there? And I'm not sure that he needs to just back up a notch there to be a bit more efficient. He's obviously got great braking performance from the car, but he's sending in a bit too deep and missing his line a little bit.
The man he's chasing, Colin Garrett, still relatively new to road racing, but he is a champion at the touring car level. Made the step into GT4 alongside touring car racing 1 year ago. But he knows how to get it done in a season-long championship. I really am excited to see what he can do next to Zach Anderson, who had such an amazing season last year.
Yeah, shame that JCD is not there, but certainly they've got a great talent in young Colin Garrett to fill that seat.
Checking in on some of the other classes. This is the other Auto Technic car. It's Lindstrom behind the wheel right now. Matt Millian started this car. Currently leads in class, just outside of the top 10 overall.
About a 6-second lead over Paul Sparta in the Random Vandals racing entry. Sparta and his teammate, Chris Wilson, this year had a nice podium run yesterday. Runner-up finish, actually. Looking to go one better today.
You mentioned that gap back to the Random Vandals car. There is Paul Sparta, team boss as well as the driver. Running in second, just under 6 seconds or so. And then about 4 seconds behind, you find this car, the number 26, a winner yesterday in the AM class with Hannah Greenmeyer now doing the driving. Hannah Grisham started the race today, and I think Amanda dubbed them Hannah Squared. Nice way to keep them straight. Really great result, though, yesterday.
It was, and 3 in a row for Hannah Grisham because she swept the Indy finale last year with her teammate last year. So very much a ton of momentum, and they want to turn this into a championship run. For Harder Racing, I mean, they just have their fingers in so many pies right now, just so many programs on the global stage. Big news is, of course, moving up to the hypercar ranks in both North American and the World Endurance Championship Racing Series next season.
Since we're talking about the AM class, it should update you on the two-time defending champions in that class. The 36 car, James Clay, Charlie Poston's out of the race, according to Amanda, but they were, I believe, able to get to the halfway point, so they're in a position to at least score some points. But the message from Amanda, Colin Harrison, who had the contact with James Clay that ultimately led to that retirement, he did come up and apologize to the team afterwards, so a nice show of sportsmanship there.
Yeah, that was a shame, because for Charlie and for Clay, James Clay, they were having a really solid weekend. Just always right there, a threat for the win. Charlie had the lead early yesterday, and James had to give it up to Hannah, and then Chris Wilson got around him for second place on the road yesterday.
You're not watching GR Cup. This is, in fact, Pirelli GT4 America, but a couple of Toyota Supras nose to tail. Great job here, Dan Hanley, finishing off the job started by Parker Thompson, pole sitter actually, who had a difficult opening lap, dropped a few positions, but Hanley's got in and he's been on the pace. Currently fourth in the silver class with John Jesbray chasing him down. Jesbray was a winner in class yesterday. Tyler Gonzalez, who is the reigning GR Cup champion, is the co-driver there. Now the leader in the Pro-Am class, Michael Oriema. Oh boy, that is a lot more smoke all of a sudden from Jonathan Neudorf. That could be game over for the car that was challenging for a race win.
Yeah, when we switched to that shot of Oriema's, like, was that smoke in the backdrop? And that was what was left by this driver. He has to hit pit lane now. What a shame.
Wow, heartbreaking for the team. They had good pace all day long and had a chance perhaps to win this race. Tell you what, though, a message has been sent. Nissan has come to play, as has Tech Sport in 2024.
Yeah, and I think for them, they would recognize you got two top prep teams in Black Dog Speed Shop and Flying Lizard also having the same platform, and they wanted to get the first win. Certainly have shown the pace here this weekend, but doesn't look like it's going to be their day.
Well, this gives a massive reprieve to Colin Garrett, who now is under no pressure whatsoever. He's got 10 seconds back to the next car, but that's not even in the same class. Kevin Bohm in third overall, 17 seconds behind, is next closest in the silver class. Here's the hood up on the Nissan, and it appears the day is done.
Yeah, suspecting something internal now.
Forlorn faces on that Tech Sport crew. Great little team. So much success in touring car racing over the year. And what a vote of confidence it was in them to get the call from Nissan to help develop this car last year. Side-by-side battle here. And I think this is Gray Newell fighting with James Walker Jr. And Walker Jr. holds the 7th spot now. It had been Gray's position.
Third in Pro-Am, I think that's the battle for.
Correct. Yes, Oriema, Swear Engine, and now James Walker Jr. That would be the Pro-Am podium as they run.
Great job by James Walker Jr. What progress he's made over the last few seasons. Came out of TCR competition, made the move to GT4, ran with Bill Oberlin initially, and really enjoying his time with Tyler McQuarrie. He's got so much experience, so much information to share.
So close to a championship last year, a single point at the end of the season.
Yeah, just didn't seem to have the magic sauce at Indy, unfortunately, and that's hard when you build a championship season, you go into that final weekend and it's not quite there. I'm sure that was a long off season for them to dust themselves off, but they come back strong. Really nice start to the weekend with a win yesterday and now in a podium spot as well.
Stack up those podiums across this season and you're going to be in the fight for the championship once again, as James knows well. having been in the mix last year. Great team behind him. And you're right, that combination with Tyler McQuarrie has been a good one.
Ray Newell, we understand, maybe getting a bit more GT3 experience next year. He's been cutting his teeth a little bit, but look at this battle between the two Toyotas. This isn't going anywhere. Jesbray putting the heat on Hanley.
Oh, Jesbray wanting to back up the race win yesterday. Looks like maybe his Smooch Racing package is just that little bit more comfortable relative to the Hanley Motorsports car. Dan Hanley going on the defensive here. These are two young drivers with very similar backstories. When they showed up, there was next to nothing known about them. This is a change of position overall, but not in class, as Kevin Boehm has passed Michael Oriema now. But Hanley and Jesbray, both of them came in with very little experience, but instantly were quick. 1 year apart were their debuts, but these are two young guys to keep an eye on for the future.
Yeah, and that battle is for P3 in class when we get back to it.
Should be coming up the hill now. There it is. Hanley still holds it, but it was only 0.4 of a second at the line with under 10 minutes to go. Just 8.5 minutes left here in race 2 of the weekend at Sonoma.
It's a fun battle. See Jesbray working the wheel there up through turn 2, arms and elbows, tossing that car around. This looks like a really fun car to drive, as you can see.
Ooh. Out my window, I see a couple of cars in the chicane that have had an issue. And that might lead to a safety car here with under 8 minutes to go. We'll keep an eye on that as well as this battle. We stay green for the moment. Hanley leading Jesbray. This is the car that had the issue. Jaden Lander, Rob Holland in this number 099 for Rotec Racing. And I think the other car is Nick Shanny, the BMW to the right-hand side of the screen. I don't think those cars are going anywhere.
No, that's going to be a lengthy cleanup. There's Lander behind the wheel right now of the Rotec Racing machine.
Heavy damage to the left side of that car. There's the call for race control. Safety car is out, full course yellow. And that might bring an end to proceedings here with two heavily, well, at least one heavily damaged and one otherwise damaged race cars to contend with. Good to see Jaden out of the car. Takes a look to assess the damage and the universal sign for what happened.
Yeah, he wants a safety vehicle over there. See the smoke.
This is a team that's had a really good weekend in GT America competition, sweeping the weekend over there. Hasn't been quite as smooth sailing over here in GT America, but it must be said, there haven't been too many happy campers in the Porsche camp this weekend. A track that has traditionally been very good for Porsches. Some of that advantage has been sapped away with this repave. That's the nature of things. Horses for courses, as you like to say. This used to be their course, but not anymore.
Now it's a new notebook here at Sonoma Raceway with the extra grip, so lots will be learned, and I think it's been a fun one though. I mean, I think the drivers have really enjoyed the raceability of the racetrack. It's not just follow the leader any longer, it's go after it, explore new lines, exciting times.
It has changed the complexion of a weekend at Sonoma for sure. Don't talk about tire degradation the way we used to. I mean, it's remarkable. Some of the laps just before this safety car were as quick as any over the course of the race. There just isn't much performance drop-off as the fuel burns off. The tires are holding up and pace potential actually improves. And there is quite a bit of damage there on the right front for Nick Shanny, who still appears to be behind. Oh, now he's gotten out, I see. Sharing a quick word with Jaden.
I would assume that Lander was to the inside of Shanny based on where the damage is on each car.
If we do have a look at what happened. Lander came from way back. I'm sure Shannon was expecting that one.
You know, I think we have seen, like, over in turn 7, I mean, they've done such a great job of patching, but obviously when they're grinding out the old tarmac, there's a lot of dust. So if you do get way offline there around those work areas on the racetrack, it seems like you are vulnerable a little bit.
So now we wait to see just how long the cleanup will take. I don't believe the completion is imminent, so I anticipate the order you see on the scoring pylon is more or less the way it's going to end. There were 2 penalties, though, handed out for short pit stops. We covered off the 1, and it's really become academic at this point because Mackay Stevens and company, they had to retire that car with the engine issues that we saw. But car 72 also received a penalty. And that is Anthony Girazzi, who's down in 20th. But what that does is that becomes a half a second penalty for him. And with this safety car, depending on where the rest of the cars in his class are, that might bunch them up and cost him more than it would have had we stayed green. In any event, you saw a moment ago, CrowdStrike fastest lap of the race, and I believe that was
Eric Powell. Yeah, so pole yesterday, fast lap today, so something to hang your hat on there. We always know Eric is a super talented young driver, and he's got a fast race car this year, so the podiums and the wins will come, we feel.
Under 3 minutes to go. And one of the cars involved was that Rotec Racing Porsche. The team owner and co-driver, Rob Holland, is standing by with Amanda.
Hey, Robbie, you've taken a look at the replay at this point. Your reflection on what happened?
You know, it's always tough to say up here from the stand exactly what happened unless you're in the car. It looked like Nick went wide and was letting some cars through on the inside. Our driver went through, and we thought we had the gap, and looked like Nick just went for the apex. And you know, it's a really unfortunate incident. We were making some moves up front. I think we were going to finish top 4, maybe even on the podium, and it's a tough one to load up a bent car, and we've got Long Beach in a couple of weeks, so it makes it even tougher.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
One more time, Calvin. You see Shanny there on the outside letting at least one car through. Wasn't expecting Lander to come. Had Jaden slowed down enough to make that corner, you think?
I'd say probably blame-wise 60-65% on Jaden, but Shanny could have driven through the corner a little bit wider if he'd recognized there were other cars kind of steaming in there, but just visually it looked like he's carrying a little bit too much speed to me.
Well, tough way for both of them to have their races end. Hate to see that, but glad both were out of their cars under their own power. 90 seconds to go. Still behind the safety car. It should be the white and yellow simultaneously as the field comes around at an abated speed. There is the white flag from Tom Hansing in the starter's stand. And Colin Garrett, barring something catastrophic, appears set to pick up a race win in his first weekend with Auto Technics. Zach Anderson, the reigning champion, back with a new co-driver. Not the best of days yesterday with that penalty that was incurred, but bouncing back in a big way, and they appear to be in the mix for another title.
Yeah, I think for Boehm and Kenton Cook, a couple of runner-up finishes should give them the championship lead heading off to the next round at Sebring. Rob Holland related to a race at Long Beach in a couple of weeks, but that's for GT America. Not all of this field will be there. Some cars do both championships.
Rintec Motorsports with Michael Oriema and Matthias Leist, third overall. They are running in the lead in Pro-Am. What a great result that would be. It's been a little while since Matthias Leist has been to victory lane. I suspect that it's been since his Indy Lights days since he last won a race, unless he's done something in Brazil that I've missed. This is the leader overall and in class. In the silver class, Colin Garrett, Zach Anderson, as mentioned. A couple cars back is where you'll find Michael Oriema in that Rintec Motorsports Mercedes. Good little team. Hartmut Fail leads that operation. They've been around for a long time, and I remember reading their press release when they announced this driver lineup. They felt like they really had doubled down on their investment this season. They were ready to challenge for wins. They've proven that that investment has been well placed.
Yeah, really crack organization. Know this Mercedes AMG platform very, very well, and delivered the goods today. That is a strong run. Great win.
If I'm not mistaken, Matheus Leist, his last win would have been in 2017 in Indy Lights at Iowa, I think, on the oval. He won 3 races that year. He won the Freedom 100, which was the old Indy Lights, now Indy Next race on the Indianapolis Motor Speedway oval. He dominated that race, which is rarely dominated. It was quite a performance. And then won at Road America and Iowa later in the season.
What did he have for breakfast that day?
Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops.
Yeah, pretty sure. Checkered flag is out here in Sonoma. Congratulations to Auto Technic, Colin Garrett, and Zach Anderson get the win in the silver class. Michael Oriema and Matheus Leist, there are your winners for Rentec in their class, although timing and scoring just dropped them down the order. That might have been an error. So one thing says that did and one thing says it didn't, so we'll check up on that. But I believe they are the winners. And then in the AM class, great job as well to the AM class winners, which should be the Auto Technic guys once again. So a really nice result for that team. Maybe that's enough for Matt Million to secure the backing needed to come back, along with Troy Lindstrom. Those two teaming up to get the victory in the AM class.
Paul Sparta, Chris Wilson, second runner-up finish of the weekend. Really strong start to their campaign, and Hannah Greenmeyer backs up the win with she and Hannah Grisham yesterday with another podium finish.
A lot to like about what we saw here this weekend. 2 races, just the 1 safety car.
Yeah.
Lots of close racing and a barn burner of a race yesterday. Let's look at these provisional results. This does have the Rentec car still up in 3rd overall, so that's good news for them. Oriema and Leist with the Pro-Am victory. Overall, of course, though, to Garrett and Anderson, and more importantly, a win in the silver class. That's big for them after the penalty cost them valuable positions and points yesterday. And in the AM class, how about it? Matt Million in his pro racing debut, Troy Lindstrom, more experience under his belt, but they put together a great weekend to pick up the win ahead of Random Vandals, Paul Sparta, Chris Wilson, and as you mentioned, Heart of Racing's Hannah Greenmeyer and Hannah Grisham. 2 podiums, including a win to start their 2024 campaign. Really well done.
Well, we said yesterday's race would be tough to repeat. I would actually say the first half of this race was maybe even better.
Yes.
As you said, first full-course yellow of the weekend, bringing this one to a premature halt in terms of racing.
Do feel for the Tech Sport team. It looked like they were in position to fight for a win today with Mackay Stevens and Jonathan Newdorf, but a mechanical gremlin of some description caused them to drop out. Big puff of smoke, and next thing you know, their race bid was over. This is the way it played out. It was Parker Thompson on the pole, but he had a big slip up here, and that opened the door for a couple of drivers to make aggressive moves. To the front with Matheus Leist in that Rentec Mercedes. Battles further back. Great save here from Roman DeAngelis after contact with Michael Cooper. Both carried on. Kai Van Berlo was the star of the show early in the going. He picked up 6 spots on the opening lap alone, then was fighting for his life. This big pack of cars came at him fast. This was Parker Thompson trying to go around the outside. That opened the door here for Tyler Gonzalez to poke his nose up the inside. Big moment here, though. Colin Harrison into the reigning AM champion, James Clay. That knocked Clay out of the race. More battles here, though, as one of the most remarkable moments of the day saw Newdorf up on 2 wheels. Colin Garrett took the overall lead from Michael Oriema with that move into turn number 11. And this incident that brought the race to a premature end with Lander colliding with Shani. Race ending under yellow flag conditions. That's how it played out in race number 2. Let's hear from some of the protagonists now down in Victory Lane with Amanda.
Well, I imagine that Zach Anderson will be making his way here as well, but Colin Guerin congratulating his teammate. A great day, or his other team, a great day for Auto Technic. But Colin, you get it done, just 2 races in with Auto Technic. How tough was it out there?
It was awesome. These guys, Zach Anderson obviously put us in great position there at the beginning of the race. This team, Auto Technic, I mean, they're kind of the best of the best. I mean, we won both of our cars won today, so I just can't thank these guys enough. I mean, they're an amazing group, and I'm super thankful to be able to work with these guys. Like I said, driving alongside this guy, Zach Anderson. He's the man.
Zach, I want to go back to yesterday, just the redemption in this. I'm sure bouncing back from that penalty has to be large for this team.
It's huge, yeah, to start a new driver pairing like this. 2 podiums, 1 was taken away. Me and Mackay are all good. I mean, that's a new car to race with. It has some interesting characteristics, but the guys at Auto Technic did an incredible job. This is a rocket ship. I'm so excited to see where this goes.
Congratulations to those guys. We'll come back and talk to that AM winner from Auto Technic as well. But in the meantime, our Pro-Am pairing, let's see if we can get in here. Matthias, Ryan Marine was guessing that it's been about 7 years since you've seen the top step of a podium. What does it feel like returning to Winner's Circle?
That's probably about right. I mean, it's been a long journey. Last time I raced a car was in 2020, and to get it back yesterday, we finished 3rd, 6th actually. And then our first win together now. I'm very excited, so happy. Michael did a great job. The car was amazing. I'm just so happy. Got to thank our sponsors, Rentec, the whole team. Everybody did an awesome job. So happy to be on the top of the podium.
Excellent 2 days of racing here in GT4 class. Michael, go back to your stint here before the full course yellow. What put you in position for this victory?
Oh, it was all Matthias, obviously, right? And he gave us a gap that even a lowly am like I couldn't crawl out of. So it was fantastic. We were holding our pace against the other Pro-Am AMs. And then with a couple of laps to go, we had some kind of mechanical issue, and we were losing about 3 seconds a lap. So that yellow kind of helped us out a little bit.
Congratulations, guys. Enjoy the celebration. And as we get back to the Auto Technic pairing with Troy and Matt, gentlemen, man, you're going to be on the top step. I know it's been a team celebration, but walk us through the race today.
Man, that was a full team effort. This was an effort that came together extremely late. It's something that I've been working to put together for months and months and months, and can't believe that we even got here at Sonoma. And full team effort, man. Auto Technic Racing, BMW of Ridgefield, Keeler BMW, LG Billet, Troy Lindstrom, Charlie, Ryan, Mike, Rob, Ryan. Super excited. This couldn't be done with any of them, and a lot of faith into me and a lot of faith into both of us, and making sure we could do this today.
Troy, we talk about the intensity we've seen in racing here in the Pirelli GT4 series over the last 2 days. How would you describe it?
Well, it's intense. You know, the cars are all equal. It's a driver's series, and it's so incredibly fun. First time here, and, you know, great cars, great people, great organization. I'll definitely be back. Love it. Fun.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations.
Awesome debut weekend for them. Awesome weekend all in all for Pirelli GT4 America. From the hills of Sonoma to Sebring, Florida. That's where the series heads next at the beginning of May.